Today we are looking at a Mardu aggro deck with an artifact synergy going on. So this deck is pretty interesting because it's essentially a combination of two of the strongest decks in the meta right now, which are Rakdos Affinity and Boros Synthesizer. So the Boros Synthesizer deck is the red-white deck that generally produces value with Experimental Synthesizer, which it bounces with cards like Kor Skyfisher and Glint Hawk. Sometimes it also plays Seeker of the Way. Then of course Rakdos Affinity tries to produce card advantage with cards like Deadly Dispute. Then later it tries to ping its opponents to death with this card Makeshift Munitions. But a few players recently have tried to mash these two decks up together, so this is based on a list played by a player named Guildpact. So let's take a look at the list. There's a lot going on here. First let's check out the lands. So we're playing 4 of the white artifact land, 1 Bojuka Bog, which exiles a graveyard. Then what's quite nice is that of course the artifact dual lands make having a triple color deck not too taxing. So this deck is rocking quite a lot of the artifact jewels. Then it's also running 2 Great Furnace and 2 Vault of Whispers. So almost all of the lands are artifacts, which is pretty cool. Then in terms of 1-drops, we have Glint Hawk, 1 white for a 2/2 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. So they use this in combination with Experimental Synthesizer. So the Synthesizer, for those who don't know, is 1 red mana for an artifact. Whenever it enters or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. And you can also pay 3 mana to sacrifice the Synthesizer to create a 2/2 Samurai creature token with Vigilance. So this is perfect to bounce back to your hand with Glint Hawk or Skyfisher. Then another artifact which is good to bounce is Ichor Wellspring, 2 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. This is also played in the Rakdos Affinity lists. It's Blood Fountain, 1 black for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, create a blood token. So blood tokens are artifacts that have pay 1, tap, discard a card, sacrifice the blood token, draw a card. Then Blood Fountain also has pay 4 mana, tap, sack Blood Fountain, return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So yet another cool thing to bounce. Then of course, since it's playing so many artifacts, it's got good old Galvanic Blast, 1 red for an instant, 2 damage to any target. But if you have 3 or more artifacts, it deals 4 damage instead. Then 2 lightning bolts, 2 cast down for more removal. Then this is quite interesting, it's playing 2 copies of Gurmag Angler. Makes a decent late game threat. Once your graveyard's full of cards, you can just cast this for cheap. And then as I said, it's rocking Makeshift Munitions, 2 mana for an enchantment with pay 1, sacrifice an artifact or creature, deal 1 damage to any target. Then it's playing this new card from Neon Dynasty, also from Rakdos Affinity, very similar to Deadly Dispute. 2 mana for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw 2 cards, and you gain life equal to the sacrificed permanent's mana value. And then of course Deadly Dispute, one of the dominant cards in Pauper right now. I think it's like a $4 common, which is pretty high. So it's 2 mana for an instant. As an additional cost, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw 2 cards, and create a treasure token. So there you have it. Seems like a very, very powerful list. I will do some more testing with it and then report my feedback. As always, if you have ideas of cool Pauper decks, please let me know. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.